Hi everyone, this is HM&S video number 9 and you're most welcome for it. Today we want to talk about Excel cell reference. In Excel, there's 3 different references: relative cell reference, absolute cell reference, and then a mixed cell reference. But in this video, we're going to talk about 2 references: relative cell reference and then absolute cell reference. And then in the next video, we shall talk about the mixed cell reference. Let's switch on to it and we see what we are meaning by cell reference in Excel. Now, first of all, before we even talk about cell references, what do we mean by a reference? Now, a reference is just like referring to something. For example, if you want to create a formula in Excel, instead of coding or putting your values direct into your formula, you simply put the value in a certain cell and then you refer to it using a cell reference. Let's see this in action. I have this table which is showing Ildefon's company monthly payment sheet, and it's having the name column, department, gross salary, tax amount, and what we want to get the net salary and the annual net salary. Now, we already know that to get the net salary, we need to subtract the tax amount from the gross salary. So let's click on cell E7. Now, all formulas in Excel starts with an equal sign. So, equals to. Now, we are seeing the values here. The tax amounts are here and then the gross salaries are also here. So, instead of just typing it in like 5 million minus 250,000 and then you hit enter, this one is giving us a correct answer. But guess what? It's not the right way of doing it. Reason being, I've coded the values in the formulas. When I come to this formula and I hit the F2 key to put it in edit mode, you can see that I've coded the formulas there. The 5 million minus the 250. Now when I hit enter, if for example the company decide to increase the gross salary for the administrator to, let's say, 6 million, 1, 2, 3, then you hit enter, the formula doesn't see the changes. It will still remain with the values where we are put there, the 5 million minus the 250,000. That is the reason why you need to put the value in a certain cell and then you refer to it using a cell reference. So I'm going to hit escape to put back the formula and then I delete this. I'm going to change this one back to 5 million. Enter. Now, let's see what we are meaning by cell reference. I'm going to click on cell E7 again, equals to, instead of putting the values in the formula like the way I typed it before, I'm going to refer to the cell where that value is sitting. So equals to cell C7 minus cell D7. So look at this, there's a difference between this formula and the one I made before. The one I made before, I was putting the values direct into the formulas. But this time around, I'm referring to the cell where the values are sitting. So when I hit enter, I get the same answer as the one before, only that this one pick the number formatting of Uganda shilling and place it there. That's also one advantage of using the cell reference. But the main reason why you need to use the cell reference is when you come to this gross salary and then maybe you increase it to 6 million like I did it before, and when you hit enter, automatically everything changes, and even the net salary also change. It captures the change. So I'm going to hit Control Z to go back to where I was. Now, what I've used is what is called a relative cell reference. Now let's talk about relative cell reference now. First of all, let's first click on this cell and then we put our formula in edit mode using the F2 key. We are seeing this one is saying cell C7 minus D7. It's referring to cell C7 minus D7. When I hit enter, it puts for us the net salary. Now if I come here and then I copy the formula down like this, all these workers get the net salary. When I come to the last cell and then I hit the F2 key, you can see that it is still looking at cell C14 and then D14. Now in the first net salary here, we saw that it was looking at cell C7 to D7. Now when you come to the last one, here click F2, you can see that it's now looking at cell C14 and then D14. This is what is called a relative cell reference. So it will always move relatively to the cell where you are putting the formula. For example, let me first delete this to emphasize that. Delete. Let me even delete this one now. When I say equals to, so instead of saying cell C7 minus cell D7, let's understand it this way. The formula is looking at 2 cells to my left minus 1 cell to my left. Let me come again. The formula is looking at 2 cells to my left minus 1 cell to my left. Let's not put there the C7 minus the D7. Let's understand it that way. 2 cells to my left minus 1 cell to my left. Now when I hit Control Enter, and then I copy it down once, just like this. Click, and then hit the F2 key to put it in edit mode. You can see that the cell references are moving relative to where you put your formula. The formula was up here, and the cell references was looking at these 2 cells here. I copied it down 1 cell below, and it's moving relatively to the cell where I've copied the formula. Control Enter. Let's copy it one more time down. Click, and then hit F2 to put it in edit mode. You can see that still the cell reference is moving relative to the cell where the formula is sitting. Enter. So now let's copy it till down. Come to the last cell. When I hit F2, you can see that still the formula is looking at 2 cells to my left minus 1 cell to my left. That's what's called a relative cell reference, and it's always very important for you to know these cell references if you know you're going to copy your formula. There's a situation where you can add code your values into the formula. Like for example, if the formula input, what you're going to put in your formula, is not going to change. Like for example, I already have the net salaries here. I want to know what the annual net salary is. We already know that in a year there are 12 months. So in order for you to get the annual salary, you need to multiply this one by 12. So when you come to cell F7 equals to, I'm going to see 1 cell to my left, that is the net salary. Now instead of putting the 12 months somewhere, and then I refer to it using a cell reference, I already know that the 12 months will always remain 12 in a year. Now for that case, I can add code it into my formula. So 1 cell to my left times 12. Control Enter, and then I copy it down. Come to the last cell, hit the F2 key. You can see that it's looking at the correct reference times the 12 months. That one is a relative cell reference, and we have also seen the situation where you may need to add code your formula input or the value into your formula. So now let's scroll down a bit and we talk about the second example. Now this is Lira University students end of semester test score. Of course, this is a made data. I've just used random number generator in Excel following a normal distribution with a mean of 70 and a standard deviation of 10 for test score 1, and then 75 and standard deviation of 15 for test score 2 to get these values here. And these are just random names, so it's a made data. So we want to see what is the average or the mean score for test 1 and test 2. So let's click on cell B20 equals to get the average or the mean, you use the average function. Once you see it highlighted in blue, you hit tab to select it. And then the numbers are going to be these numbers here. So I'm going to click Control Enter. So this one is still a relative cell reference. Reason being, let me click on it again. Then I hit the F2 key. I want to get the average for the 10 values starting from 2 cells below the cell where I'm putting the formula. That's how we can understand that. So that one is also a relative cell reference. When I click Control Enter, and then I copy this formula to the right, come to the cell, then you hit the F2 key, you can still see that the cell reference is moving relatively to the cell where I'm putting the formula. So that one is still a relative cell reference. Control Enter to put the formula back. Now let's scroll down and we talk about what is called the absolute cell reference. Now this one we are using a Miss Africa Beauty Contest performance. And this one we are going to see a statistic example. We're going to see what is called deviation. Here are the names of the queens. These are the countries where they come from, and this is now the points they scored. So now we want to see what is the deviation for each of them from the mean. First, let's get the mean. I'm going to click on cell E32 and then do a relative cell reference equals to average. To get the mean, you use the average function. Tab, highlight the scores or the points, and then control enter. Now that one is a relative cell reference. However, I'm not going to copy it anywhere, so I'm not minding so much about the reference. Now let me click on cell D38 equals to, I'm going to get one cell to my left. That one is like our X value, then minus the mean. The mean is the X bar. So when you click on the mean and then you click enter. So let's see. The second one is going to be equals to one cell to my left minus the mean. Enter. So each and every time we are getting one cell to my left minus the mean. One cell to the left minus the mean. So let me first complete these formulas now. Equals to one cell to my left minus the mean. So enter. Now if you check, each and every time we are getting one cell to the left minus the mean. Enter. F2. One cell to the left minus the mean. Now, instead of making 7 different formulas here, why don't we make it once and then we just copy it down? That's where the absolute cell reference now comes in. I'm going to click on cell E38 equals to 2 cells now minus the mean. When I click control enter, now let's copy it down once and we see what happens. Click. Already we can see that there might be some problem because 78 minus 77 cannot give you 78. So let's hit the F2 key to put it in edit mode. You can see that this one is a relative cell reference, and since it's a relative cell reference, it's moving relative to the cell where I've put the formula. We need to find a way of locking the red reference into the mean so that when we copy this formula down, it doesn't move from the mean. So I'm going to hit escape, delete, and then click on this one again, equals to the point minus the mean. Now before I copy it, I need to lock that cell where the mean is sitting so that when I copy my formula down, it doesn't move. And for you to lock it, you simply need to put the $sign before the column to lock the column, and also you can also put it before the row to lock the row. Now remember, I put that one manually. So when I hit control enter and then I copy it down once, come here, hit F2, you can see that this one has moved to Nigeria, this one remain, control enter. Let me copy it down one more time. Copy, come here, F2. You can see that each and every time this one is moving, but this one is locked into the mean. That's because of that $sign we have put. But remember, we have put that $sign manually. Let's see the better way of putting the $sign. Equals to, I'm going to get the point minus the mean. So instead of putting the $sign manually, let's use the F4 key. F4. Once you hit the F4 key, it puts for you the $sign automatically. Then when you click control enter, you copy it down. You come to the last cell and hit the F2 key. You can see that it's looking at the correct references, the point, and this one is locked into the mean. So control enter, and you can see that the two methods are giving us the same correct answers. That's what's called absolute reference. So let's scroll down and we see our last example. We still have the same table we used before. This time around we doesn't have the tax amount here, so we want to bring in the tax amount. This is the gross salary, and each and every person is paying a tax of 5% of the gross salary, equals to one cell to my left times the tax rate. F4 to lock it, control enter, and then I copy it down. Come to the last cell, hit the F2 key. You can see that it's looking at the correct cell references. Control enter. Now let's get the net salary. Net salary is going to be equals to I'm going to use the arrow key. Left arrow, that is the gross salary, minus left arrow, the tax amount. Control enter, and then I double click to copy it down. Come to the last cell, hit the F2 key to check the references, and all the references are working very well. That is it for the relative and absolute cell reference in Excel. In the next video, we're going to see what is called a mixed cell reference. Until next video, HM&S video number 10, and then we meet again. Thank you.